we move on to our Lifeline. And this is the section where anything goes. And for episode 1, we thought we'd ask 3 of our friends living in Singapore to share their hard luck story about the trials and tribulations of working in travel and being confined to a small tropical island at a time of no travel. You can see that they've already got their positions on stage. We have Emilie, Couton from Accor. We have Chee from GlobalTix. And we have Shyn, Yee-Ho, Strangas from the Expedia group. Over to you guys.
So, we've all been stranded on this 728 square kilometer tropical paradise for the last 375 days. That's about 2 square kilometers coverage per day, which is the equivalent of like 3/5 of Central Park, half of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport in Manila. We survived a pandemic. We survived the onslaught of COVID kilos. Did you know that 1/3 of Singaporeans gained weight during the pandemic? We even survived the worst dengue outbreak in the history of Singapore, where it felt like the population of Aedes mosquitoes outnumbered the humans. Local residents went to Changi Airport not to take a flight, but to look at aircrafts, eat, shop, camp. Desperate times called for very desperate measures. Emilie, what did you do to keep yourself sane during this time?
Well, I did what everyone else did. I took up a new hobby.
Oh, which one?
Me too.
Well, I started to learn Bahasa, Indonesia, and then Malay since March last year.
Of all language, why Bahasa?
Well, Malay is your national language, mate. And I secretly hoped it will help my PR.
Did it work?
Not quite yet, but can you put a good word for me?
I'll call the Prime Minister for you.
I really thought it was an easy language to learn, at least much, much easier than Thai. There is an alphabet I can read. There is no tone. There is no conjugation. But little did I know that it was prefixes, suffixes, affixes. So it's not that easy. But I really started to think strategically. Mm-hmm. We're surrounded by countries that speak Bahasa.
True.
Probably when travel reopened, that's going to be a lot more regional. So I saw maybe it would be a good idea for me to be more efficient at communicating with them, right?
Very wise, forward thinking.
So, and did you know that Malay was actually the travel language in the 17th and 18th century? That was what was really uniting all travelers in the region. So during a time where we couldn't travel, that really became my lifeline. Do you know how you say travel in Malay, Sisi?
No idea.
Makan angin. That's literally mean to eat the wind.
In Hokkien, you know what we call it? It's the same. We call it jiak hong.
See? Yeah. It's very beautiful. It's a very meaningful way to describe travel, right? It's to describe the freedom. The wind in the sail, the wind in your hair, the wind you breathe, and really the wind that makes you space in your brain to think. It's the wind that nourishes the soul.
Wow, that's profound.
I know, very cultural of me. Well, actually, I found my wind in reading books, and I spent the last 375 days reading everything I could put my hand on about Southeast Asia, right? So I spent a fantastic month of June with Tuan Tan Heng in Penang. Then in July, I went to Bangkok with Bhutan. Last month, I was in Java. So it's been very rewarding for me, but I was still missing the wind in my hair. So luckily for me, Singapore has been very windy in the last 3 months, and I've tried to makan some of it. And I tried myself wake surf. So wake surf is surfing behind a boat that creates that wave, right? A lot of air in my wind, wind in my hair, and also some wisdom that I thought were very applicable to today's time. So what I learned was it's actually very important. You do not pull against something which is stronger than you. Typically, in that case, the boat. When you fall, you just let it go, right? Otherwise, you're going to pull out your shoulder. And when you want to go forward, you just lean forward, or you will lose the wave.
That sounds like something we should all apply now.
Isn't it? Well, Sisi, did you find a way to makan angin as well?
Makan angin, jiak hong. Wow, definitely I did jiak hong. Literally ate the wind. you know, how to spend 375 days in a small tropical island like Singapore. I think the trick is to travel really, really slow. So I took up cycling, right? Just like many other people, you got to keep fit, you got to keep sane, or else it will be like 1/3 of Singaporeans, you really literally put on the weight. And when you cycle, it's really quite nice. You get the wind in your hair, like what you did with wakeboarding, and you can get a wind in your mouth as well. It's also a fun way to actually travel, right? So what I did was I bought a foldable bike, I threw it at the back of my car, and I started to explore Singapore. So I got some photos to show. If you look at it, this is me and my wife cycling at night, and this is a beautiful city line in Singapore. And at night, it's not so hot as well. If you look at this is a bunch of my friends. In the morning, we cycled to this old town called Tiong Bahru, and we had a breakfast, pork rib soup bak kut teh. This is me with my colleagues. We were cycling during this COVID time, not just me who pick up cycling. Many of them pick up cycling as a hobby as well. And this is me cycling on a railway track in the part of nature reserve in Bukit Timah.
Oh, wait. Are you sure that's an authentic picture?
100% authentic, I guarantee you, plus chop, right? And this is me doing the vertical climb up Garden by the Bay, super tree. And this is me cycling up the pyramid in Cairo.
Really fake, right, Sissy?
Hey guys, this is the first-hand deep fake technology you're looking at. But on a serious note, what I really did was I uploaded a lot of my travel photos onto Google Drive, and I Chromecast it onto the TV itself. So as a backdrop, so in a way that is how me and my wife relive back our memories of good old days of traveling.
That's
By the way,
that's a really good idea.
yeah, by the way, do you know the real reason why I took up cycling?
What's that?
I need to get away from my wife.
Seriously?
Oh, come on, Cici.
Hey, come on. I'm sure you find your husband irritating some of the time, right?
Nope.
No, we don't.
Yeah, right. Come, take this.
So, you know, I don't really understand what everyone is complaining about. I traveled throughout the pandemic. It was just a very different way of traveling, a little bit of imagination, some equipment, a dash of creativity. For example, I took a flight to nowhere with my Singapore Airlines limited edition scarf over my shoulders, music in my ears, a breakable glass of wine, and then the constant drone of the engine in the background. It was mostly smooth flying, some turbulence, as you can expect.
What about the safety procedure?
Safety a little bit dodgy. I was a bit disappointed that the oxygen mask did not deploy. There was no lights on the corridor or the aisle, but budget.
There's no air stewardess.
Budget. And then in the spring, I was in Tokyo enjoying sushi. Nothing beats sushi at the Tsukiji fish market, right? Itadakimasu. And then in the summer, I went to Vienna, visited a museum, saw a 15th century vintage map that I really liked, had some sake torte and with melange, Shyn. In the fall, I even did hiking in Borneo.
Deep fake.
This is very, very real. And I saw wild animals, civet cats, bats, hornbills. I saw some Asian koals, your favorite bird.
I only saw one wild animal in the picture.
Which one would that be, CC? And then I saw my neighbors playing 16-hour mahjong marathons, Grab drivers every 5 minutes. And then the culinary journeys. I reminisce about my trips to Sri Lanka with really authentic meals, ignoring the fact that maybe I paid 40 Singapore dollars for a 6-pack of Lion Lager.
This is COVID kilos. You will put on weight if you finish all those alcohol.
Well, it was a gin tasting tour. It was Roku gin from Japan, and then Sipsmith from London, and then, all the wonderful gins from everywhere. Desperate times justify comforting kilos. And then on slow, uninspired days, I turned to my collection of travel literature, transporting me to all the beautiful hotels in the world, and all the train journeys, winding through the rolling plains, and all these hidden stories behind closed doors. And then I would hold on to all my travel souvenirs and think about the time when I got them.
You mean
2011, it was in Santorini. A lodge owner gave this to us. Yeah, like the 17th century French philosopher says, Blaise Pascal, he wrote, "The sole cause of man's unhappiness is that he cannot stay quietly in his room."
Hang on, it's completely counter our industry, right?
I know, but just think about this for a second. What if our real problem is not so much that we are not allowed to travel, but that we don't know how to make the most of what is already to hand? We can return to our past travels in our mind, and this time without having to carry our bodies, without having to deal with border controls and suitcases. We can use our sense of adventure, travel to the sofa, admire its elegant curves, go to the kitchen, give thanks for our abundance, go into the bedroom to dream.
You're right. I reread recently Pico Iyer, that wrote The Art of Stillness, one of my favorite travel writers, and he said, in an age of constant movement, nothing is more important than sitting still. It's the rest in a piece of music that makes its resonance and shape.
Ding dong, breaking news. The travel bubble between Singapore and the Maldives has just opened, and the next flight is scheduled in an hour.
Okay, guys.
get me out of Singapore?
Gotta go.
I'm going on a flight.
Yeah, well, I will see you on the flight too. Thank you so much for that lifeline and reminiscing about what we've done in Singapore to keep ourselves sane while we dream about the Maldives and other destinations.